It's always important to know what your competitors are doing and to create a plan that organizes all the factors that are necessary in making sure that you are staying ahead of your competitors or at least aware of what they're doing. So, a few rules when doing competitive analysis. One thing that I have learned in talking to many businesses and business owners is that they tend to assume that their competitors are always doing better. Just because a competitor has better rankings doesn't mean that their business is better. You see, there's always subjective information and objective information. A competitor's rankings are subjective because you really don't know what people are seeing when they click on those rankings. You don't know what they're doing. You've got to rely on context. You've got to know what is objective information that you can compare and know that you're doing better or worse. And what is subjective information? When we get into subjective information, that's like design, the rankings, how many visitors you think they're getting. You may use something like Alexa to determine how popular the site is or how many visitors they get, but it's still an estimate. You can look and decide on what their social media is doing. You can see how active they are, but you won't know what the results of their activity is. Objective information is the link analysis. How many links do they have? Who's linking to them? You can look at their search engine optimization on the page and get a sense of what their keyword selections are and if they're optimizing the right way. You can also look and see, are they targeting the right market and what is their unique sales proposition? How are they presenting themselves? Are they using the right words to reach the right people? And you can always measure their social media involvement. It's important to realize that there are certain factors that you don't have to give you a clear measurement of objective competitiveness. That most important thing is their revenue and profitability. You don't know how well they're doing as a business. You don't know their conversion rate. You don't know how many people are becoming customers of this competitor as opposed to your site. You don't know their bounce rates. And so because of that, you don't have a full view of how well a competitor is doing. So we can only measure those things that we know and guess on the others, but it's more important to know objectively what's happening. You can use a link management program to look at your links and compare to your competitors' links. You can also compare the quality of those links. Who is linking to your competitor that's not linking to you? Or who's linking to you that's not linking to your competitor? Look at the backlink profile and make sure that it looks similar. A tool that I use to accomplish this is LinkDex, because what LinkDex will show me are the amount of blog links that I have, as well as my competitors, the amount of links coming from news sites that I have compared to my competitors. And I can look at the types of directories and forums and things like that. And I can also see from ranking reports, where do I rank? Where do competitors rank? So I can see what words they are focusing on and optimizing for compared to me. I can also look and see what page elements they might be using by looking and getting some SEO tools that will show me the title and description and keywords of my competitor websites. Now, if you're really highly detailed, you can take the step of developing a spreadsheet that will put all of these objective and subjective things on one place. So you can evaluate the keyword selection. Are they doing search engine optimization? If so, what words are they looking for? What's their page outline? What's their headers? What's their H1, H2, H3? What is their unique sales proposition? How involved are they in social media? Is the call to action clear? Are you ranking for the same words or different words? You can do some visitor estimates. And then finally, what's the opportunity? Do you have an opportunity to excel past this competitor? Do you have opportunities that you need to work on where they are doing more? And then also, what's the process? Have you ever registered for a newsletter or registered for information on your competitor's site? You can do that and evaluate the process that you have to go through. Is it easy? Is it difficult? And how does that compare with yours? So you can also do the usability test on their site as well. So for a comparative analysis, don't just assume people are doing well because they have a better ranking. You've got to compare on multiple levels, and only on doing that will you find opportunities and see a clearer picture about how you stack up against the competition. Let's take a look at information that you may encounter that may not be viable anymore. I like to call these SEO myths because many of the things that you will hear are based in older ways of doing search engine optimization. You see that search engine optimization started back around the mid-90s, and search engines have changed drastically since then. Unfortunately, there's a lot of advice that still exists from those early days. The first myth is that of keyword density, that if you repeat a keyword so many times on the page, you automatically rank for it. There's no magical formula that's going to make this happen. Repetition is not search engine optimization. This is based on a technique from around 1998 with the Alta Vista search engine, that if you repeated a keyword 5.5% of the time, it would increase your chances to be the most relevant website in the search engine, which is not always true. But of course, it hit critical mass. It spread around the webmaster community, so everyone was trying to get their pages to that magical 5.5% keyword density rating. And of course, it didn't work. As search engines grow and improve their quality, they try to screen out the sites that are really just going overboard in filling every available text area with keywords. It's easy to detect how many sites are using a keyword too many times in relation to the rest of the content. The second myth is that of using a keyword in your domain. While it's good for maybe branding purposes or helping a user keep your domain in mind, there's no direct boost for rankings by having a keyword in your domain. You might see an indirect benefit as people link to you because the keyword is in the link of the domain. But what I have noticed over the years is that great marketing overcomes any benefit of having the keyword in the domain. For example, when you think of books, who do you think of? If you're going to go online and buy books, most people think of Amazon. Right now, iTunes is the #1 source of music. Zappos is one of the top retailers of shoes. You see, these are 3 brands that did not have the keyword in the domain, and did it stop them from dominating the market? Absolutely not. Great marketing can overcome having a keyword in the domain. Otherwise, we'd be talking about books.com, music.com, and shoes.com, which really no one does. The next myth is that of penalties. And usually people talk about a duplicate content penalty, or when you're a brand new website that you might have a penalty. The duplicate content penalty isn't so much that the search engines are penalizing you because you have duplicate content. It's not a penalty, it's more of an effect. It's a symptom. You see, every page on your website has to have a unique address. When you have a page that is duplicated and a different address, and maybe you have a page that is actually found 10 times with 10 different addresses, the search engines have to figure out, well, which is the best page, which is the real page. And the page they choose to rank may not be the page you want it to be. And also, they may rank another website with the same content rather than your site. So it's not so much a penalty as it is an effect of not managing duplicate content on your website. Now, if you have a brand new website and you're wondering why you're not showing up in the rankings, well, what you've got to ask yourself is, are you doing the same thing as the 10 million other websites in that industry? Are you selling the same thing as 10 million other retailers? Or are you saying the same exact thing as everybody else? You see, you're going to have success faster and gain rankings and visibility faster if you are original, if you're unique, and timely to the market. Those are the sites that have success faster than everybody else because nobody cares if you have the 10 millionth e-commerce website that sells the same exact thing as everybody else. The next myth is that the algorithm affects everybody. And as you're getting into this realm of search engine optimization, chances are you're reading a lot more articles, you're subscribing to newsletters, and you're going to know when the algorithm changes, because that's all webmasters talk about when the algorithm does change. And it's important to realize that your site is unique. Just because the algorithm changes doesn't mean your website is going to get hit and lose rankings. From what I've seen, it's typically the affiliate sites that get hit more than everybody else. And the affiliate sites are ones that they're retailing products or trying to get leads for other companies, and they're competing with the original brand name. And so in doing so, they're trying to take other methods that might be borderline or what we would call aggressive. And the search engines don't always like those aggressive techniques. So usually when there is an algorithm change, it's designed to take low-quality sites out, and the search engines do tend to believe that affiliate sites are lower quality than the brand site. And so the important thing to remember is that the more aggressive the strategy you take, the more you try and cross the line of things that search engines might not like, the more chances you take of losing rankings in an algorithm update. You see, there are 650 million websites online. And what the search engines are struggling for is quality. They want to present quality websites to their users. When it comes to search engine optimization advice, if something sounds like a trick, it probably is. And hopefully you've realized by this time through the course that search engine optimization isn't just doing one or two little things that'll help you gain rankings. It's doing thousands of little things that help develop context of your entire website and your entire business. Focus on the things that make you money rather than little tricks that might help you rank better with the search engines that you might get penalized for. The next myth is that search engine optimization is the same for everybody. You've always got to ask yourself when you're reading an article or hearing some advice, ask yourself who's giving you the advice and what experience do they have in your business. You see, there are a lot of different businesses online, and it's always good to know who's giving me this advice and are they in the same industry? Have they seen the same things I have? Search engine optimization is not the same for an e-commerce site as it is a publisher site, as it is for a video or a social media or a forum. Search engine optimization is different depending upon who you are. And so as we review these SEO myths, remember that this is particular to you and your site and your experience. It's up to you to try things, test them, and customize them, but it's also your choice not to do things. Feel free to make this business your own. This is going to be a very focused presentation because if you're running an e-commerce website, there are things you need to take into account that other types of websites don't. There are more opportunities and also more responsibilities. So for your e-commerce site, there's going to be a lot more demand on the content that you are using to sell your products. You are ultimately going to have to be interdependent upon usability. Because for you to be successful, not only do you have to increase search rankings, you have to present products as well as present the way that people can get those products. And it requires a lot more communication with the visitor because when people purchase online, it's an experience. And you have to ensure that that experience goes well. Otherwise, they're not going to come back. And so search engine optimization for e-commerce really steps up the level of what is required. So when it comes to original content, my number one rule is that you cannot use manufacturer content. Content that comes with the product from the manufacturer will never get you rankings because every other retailer will use the manufacturer content. The rule is that unique content gains rankings. And also, you can develop more of a personality and a uniqueness with your business when you use your own content to explain the product. Here's a great example at Fries.com, just taking a little snippet of their content. With the Canon VIXIA HF R10 dual flash memory camera recorder, blah, 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 blah. All right. What happened is this is the manufacturer content. If I take that sentence and I put it into a search engine, what I see is that there are 88,000 results. Those are every other retailer using exactly the same content on those websites. And you're not going to rank for it. You're up against 88,000 other people using the same exact manufacturer content. When you use original content that's unique, that's engaging, you improve your chances to rank for a product more than everybody else. You're also going to have to ensure that there is a clear call to action. Make sure your Add to Cart button is big and bold and obvious. One of the things that users struggle with is finding that next step option. If your Add to Cart button is not clear, then you're going to have a problem. And also, don't make people take a step before, such as checkmarking a box in order to add it to their cart if that's the only option. Make sure the process is smooth with as few clicks as possible to add something to the cart. Then make sure, once they're in the shopping cart, that it's obvious where they have to go. Make sure the checkout button is big and bold and in the right place. For this page, people were clicking cancel order instead of checkout because cancel order was right in the most logical position for the wrong thing. People were expecting to check out, not to cancel. This is where your communication ability with the customer is critical. You have to develop a policy for letting people know if something is out of stock or back ordered, or if there's additional shipping costs or restocking costs. You've got to communicate this information up front because customers do not like surprises. They do not like to check out, finish the transaction, and then get an email a few hours or a few days later telling them that their product is not available. So it's up to you to develop a policy to let people know if you have the product or not, or when it's coming, and give them the choice to purchase. Do not fool the customer. Because if something's on back order, or shipping separately, or canceled, you've got to know that, and the customer needs to know that. For e-commerce, it's critical that you develop a testing program. You can always improve conversion rates. Test different calls to action. Test a different button color or words in the button, such as add to cart or buy now. Test your headlines. Test colors, images, or different words on the page. When you improve conversions, you create revenue. You see, when you implement a testing program, you can test different parts of the page and different parts of the process. You can increase your add to cart by 10% just by making some changes. And by getting more people into the shopping cart, maybe you can increase your checkout by 10%. And in doing so, you've increased the amount of revenue to your site. You've increased the amount of successful transactions, which will also increase the amount of return visits. Ultimately, what you are doing is increasing revenue with every little test that you do by finding out what people are looking for. Also, important in e-commerce is that your homepage is not a destination. You just simply can't try and rank for everything. Make sure that your product pages and your category pages are working for you. Get people where they want to go fast because they don't want to stick around and try and find their way to the destination. In looking at one site in the analytics, what we found is that when people entered the website at a product page, they were twice as likely to purchase as they were when they came to the home page. Get people to their destination fast. So be sure to realize that your job is going to increase dramatically doing search engine optimization for an e-commerce website. Your content is critical. Using keywords, Developing a conversion program and a testing program and making sure that people are entering the site closer to their destination is all going to help you be a better search engine optimizer and increase the revenue for your company. When doing e-commerce, one way you can increase your visibility is by using shopping search engines. Google, Yahoo, Bing, they all have an ability to take a feed from a retailer and display the products in the search results. Also, beyond the search engines, there are many third-party applications or sites that are specifically set up to take a feed for comparison shopping. So developing a shopping feed can enable you to extend your brand and extend the visibility of your products and your store well beyond your own website. So for a shopping feed, what you have to do is apply as a seller or a vendor, set up your account, and then it's as simple as uploading your feed, which is usually a spreadsheet or a CSV. Now, most of your shopping carts can export a product listing in this format so that you can upload it. But I've always found that it's better not just to create it from scratch, but to edit it. Make sure that your product export matches what is going to help you with the search engines. Always, always edit your product export before you send that feed to the search engine or to the shopping site. Let's look at what is required in a data feed. Of course, the typical information is necessary. Product title, product type, the category, the product ID, a description, the link to the product, a link to the image, and the price. That's the most basic information that's required in a shopping feed. However, because we are search engine optimizers, we can optimize the data feed with additional information. So you always want to put in, depending upon what type of product it is, style, size, color, weight, brand, gender, sales price. This is where your keyword research comes in when you know how people are searching for products. You can add this into your shopping feed so that when people are using more keywords, the attributes of your product can be found in the shopping search. You can even add the UPC, you should, the ISBN number if you're selling books, taxes, shipping amounts, or shipping weight. This is your ability to add as much information as possible that will help the search engine determine if your product is the most relevant, as well as helping the searcher determine how much information will help them decide to buy from you. The product category, really the best way to look at that is go to the site that you are adding the feed and examine the taxonomy or the organization of what they're doing and match it. So for Google Shopping, the example here is coats and jackets, men's, black. So when they're looking for the category, use the category that is being used by that store. It may be different for different stores, so always be sure, before you upload the feed, to examine how that store is developing its organization or its taxonomy. Now for product images, this is where you can tell the experts from the amateurs when it comes to e-commerce, because the experts will upload multiple images. They'll upload a thumbnail, they'll upload a link to the standard size image, and they'll upload a link to the large image. If you've ever been on an e-commerce website and you click to enlarge and the picture is exactly the same size, that's because the person that uploaded the feed just used the same link for every image. Expert retailers know that they can provide a link for each size of image and that they will get more interaction with their products by uploading the multiple images that are required and that searchers require in order to see the product at a high-res image. Also, be sure that you're linked to the product from the feed and that link works. My biggest advice is to test again, and make sure you test again that the link from the shopping feed to the product page is working. I've seen too many retailers that just take the product feed export from their shopping cart software and upload it, and many times the link is either broken or not correct. Test it and make sure it works. Shopping feeds are a great way to increase your visibility and create new channels, and they're very easy to do. Most of the time, they're free. The more work you put into this, the more visibility, the more revenue, the more you are going to get overall. So take the time and be extensive in filling out your shopping feeds to each of the shopping search engines or to the comparison engines to increase your visibility online. If you're operating a lead generation site, then you've got some unique issues that you need to deal with. Now, the great thing about lead generation, the internet has changed everything because inbound marketing costs 62% less than typical direct marketing. Outbound marketing, such as direct mail, television, radio, newspaper, the average cost per lead is about $300, whereas inbound marketing, such as search marketing, costs drastically less. And so that's why lead generation online has become such a great way to extend your business and get more leads. Companies such as Salesforce, many others, not only help you manage this, but they also do a great way of developing leads their own. So be sure to look at some of the other CRM companies and look at how they are designing their pages to get the lead and take cues from them as to how you can increase your leads. Now, lead generation has a unique problem, and that's in the analytics. You see, in this example, where a company had one word that was ranking number 3, and that same word was ranking number 12, people behaved very differently coming in at different places on the site. That number 3 ranking was the home page, and it resulted in 48 conversions. The number 12 ranking was a product page, and it resulted in 43 conversions. Now, the problem was that the number 3 ranking of those conversions, of those leads, only 8% closed. Of the 43 that came from the number 12 ranking, 60% closed. So you might make a bad decision just based on conversions. However, conversions are an incomplete picture of what's going on when it comes to the actual close and revenue of the business. You've got to know what you can measure and how far into the lead generation and lead management and the closing of that lead you can measure. You see, as a search engine optimizer, you're usually at the top of the funnel. You can test the acquisition, you can test your creative, you can adjust the search engine optimization, you can look for more rankings, and you can always generate more conversions. But unless you are measuring what happens to that lead after you get it, there's no way to measure the quality of the conversion. And so if you are an SEO in a lead generation website or company, you need to ask a few questions. In order to properly know how well you're doing your job, you need to know how you are being measured. Are you being measured simply on the basis of creating conversions? If so, what is completely under your control? And if you are being measured beyond just simply getting conversions, if you're being measured for the quality of those conversions, the closing of those leads, then you need to know how much of that process is being measured and how much you can change, and also if you can get a corporate buy-off. Will people agree with you that you are responsible for this group of actions and someone else is responsible for another group of actions? There's always a lot of outside influences. It depends on, are you tracking your leads? Are there email campaigns going out? Are there any promotions that you don't know about? Does your company send out catalogs or do other offline promotions? You need to know these things so that you can do your job better and more effectively, and also work them into any tracking that might be taking place. Another outside influence might be customer service. Maybe it's an existing customer who's calling in, or maybe someone fills out a lead form and then calls in order to initiate the process as well. And so you've got to have some level of implementation into a call center. How good is your sales force? I can be generating great leads, but have a very bad sales force. So we've got to be sure that every part of the transaction is measured in order to fully understand how well we're doing. And so that's why I always recommend for lead generation websites that you have an integrated customer relation management tool. Something that will integrate with your analytics, something that will integrate with your lead tracking, and will enable you to score leads and help salespeople understand how to better approach the leads. You see, a good sales tracking tool, this one is from HubSpot, and it tells you how many conversions you received off of specific articles. Then it will go the next step and tell you how many of those leads turned into customers, and so now you have the full circle of measurement capability. You not only know which articles are producing leads, you'll know which articles are producing sales. Your thank you pages can go a long way in assisting the conversion. When someone fills out a lead form, you can always ask them if they remembered anything that will be required when the salesperson calls. And so make sure that they have any information ready that they will need. In one company, they found out that if the salesperson didn't close the call on the first call, then the chances of converting that lead into a customer went down 80%. And they realized the reason why salespeople weren't converting people on that first call is because people weren't ready for the salesperson's call. They needed to have specific information on hand during that call, because if they didn't, the salesperson would have to call back, and it was never a good time. So by telling your lead to have specific information ready when the salesperson called, they increased their lead conversion rate just by adding that little bit of text to the thank you page. So let the customer know what they can do. Give them information that will help let them know that they made the right choice. Give them downloads or tools or white papers or case studies that will let them know that they've made the right choice, and reinforce their choice by giving them action items to take until the salesperson calls. As a publisher, you have some very unique challenges ahead of you as you implement an SEO program for your content. The first thing you're going to have to get used to is to think differently from the way you've been trained in writing and presenting information and getting people's attention. The main reason is that Google isn't nuanced. Google doesn't know the difference between a humorous headline that uses words that may not be relevant or double meanings or things like that. You see, when you write a nuanced headline, like we've been trained to do in writing, we want to get people's attention. We want to present maybe a humorous twist to it, or something that's slightly different in order to get people's attention. Unfortunately, that just doesn't work with Google. One example of this is a financial publisher who published an article entitled, "Why Brazil is So Hot." Now, this really doesn't work for Google because it doesn't contain any keywords that were relevant to the content of the article. So in reality, the headline was misleading according to the information that was contained in the article. And so the ability for this article to rank well for the actual content of investment opportunities in Brazil, it didn't happen because the title, the most important element of that page, was too nuanced in order to provide any value of rankings. Now, on the other side of this, another publisher wrote an article called Holiday Time Travel, and it was ideas about travel that people could take with their families during the holidays and short trips that they could take in the car. Unfortunately, when they looked at their analytics, they saw that this article was one of the most popular articles on the site, and traffic had increased dramatically to this article. They were excited about that until they saw the keywords that were sending people to this article. Apparently, that article was ranking very high in Google for the phrase time travel. So they were getting a lot of people finding the article for something that it wasn't really about. And so as a publisher, you need to be aware of how search engines will view the title of your article. And that title is the most important text field on that page, and it sets the stage for the rest of the information that's going to come. One thing that you can do that will immediately increase your search engine rankings is to make a difference between the page title and the headline, the H1 of the page. Here's an example at time.com where the page title, which is in the top of the browser bar, is the exact same title as being found for the article. So the H1 and the page title are duplicated. And what that does is it takes the two most important text fields you have on the page and it duplicates them. Instead, the Wall Street Journal takes a very different approach, and it's very effective. It says the same thing in two different ways, using two different keywords and two different thoughts. And in doing this, they're both related. They both contribute information that both the search engine and the reader can process. And in doing so, in the search engine results, the page title will show up in the blue underlined text, and the headline of the article will show up in the description. And so it gives you that added punch to attract searchers that this is the article that they want that will answer their question. So the first rule is not to duplicate the title and the H1. For one client, we did that, and it was the only thing that had been done to that site in a few months. Changing just the title and the H1 to be different, challenging the writers to create a title as well as a headline for their articles, resulted in the search traffic doubling to the site in just 1 month. It makes that much of a difference. Another reason is because it increases the long-tail search terms. You're increasing the relevance, and you're increasing the amount of terms that you are relevant for. Now, something else that is critical for publishers is in showing related content. People that come to your publication to read an article are also interested to know what else has been written, what's popular, and what's being commented on. Showing those as part of the layout increases what we call the social proof. That is, that people tend to do what they see other people doing. When you show that these are new articles, the most popular articles, the most commented articles, or the most forwarded articles, that lets people know that other people find these valuable as well, and they will click on those. Make sure that they are visually appealing and that they're findable, and that will immediately improve the engagement of people on your site. I'm going to use the Wall Street Journal as an example of this again. Across the top of the article are content tabs with different multimedia content. Down the right-hand side, they give their subscriber content a healthy piece of real estate because that's still what makes them money. So you need to make it attractive and make it clear. Make sure that you are pulling people in to do things that make you money. After the subscriber-only content, you can see that there's related content, most popular content, recent, and then the author information. Publishers, it's all about the content. Everything you do, every headline, subheading, page title is going to be used to compete with other publishers writing about the same thing. So ensure that your content is direct and clear using keywords, and you're going to have to watch the nuanced titles. Evaluate your calls to action and make sure that you are giving enough real estate and enough clarity to the actions that make you money, such as subscriptions. If you don't get the subscription, make sure you get an email address. Give that promise of value, of good information, in order to get that email address, because then you can continue marketing to them until you do get their subscription. Allow people to interact with the content by seeing the related content that's there and keep drawing them through the site to persuade them that you are a source for the information that they need.